Well, what Levi, and I want to express my appreciation to the National Congress of American Indians. I appreciate the leadership of President Macarro, and I'm proud to be on the panel here with Chairman Stevens. This has been an important week. We've had some solid engagement. I think some very meaningful engagement. We're gathered here for Unity Week at a time in which there is great change in the country, particularly in Washington, D.C., and there's a great deal of division in the country. And I think that is why now more than ever, we have to demonstrate the unity of Indian country, and we have to demonstrate not only the needs of Indian country, and this is primarily why we come here, to demonstrate the needs, but also demonstrate the great success. I mean, if you want to look at governments in this country that are the most progressive, the most dynamic, that are getting things done, that are responsive to the citizens that they represent, the first place to look is Indian country. Tribes across this country are doing, I think, remarkable things in areas that people care about. They're doing remarkable things in healthcare, in housing, trying to conquer problems in poverty and areas that are very difficult, like drug addiction and behavioral health, trying to lift up economies that are often on the margins in this country, and making a great deal of progress, raising educational standards. We're doing a lot of good, I think, across Indian country. So coming here is an opportunity to talk about that. I think it's important, but also express to the Congress and to leaders in the executive agencies that if we want to keep up this progress, then we can't have the rug pulled out from under us. If we want to keep up this progress, then the march towards taking power out of Washington, D.C. and empowering the tribes of this country is the right policy for the United States. And there's not a single party that owns that policy. There have been opportunities, and both parties can claim to be champions, rightfully so, of the policy of empowering tribes, of self-governance, of self-determination. We know that. We've talked about that a lot this week. And both parties can claim responsibilities for some of the failures of the country, to live up to that, live up to the trust responsibilities, meet the treaty responsibilities, fully fund these programs that help us and the country execute on these responsibilities. And so we come here on a really nonpartisan basis, looking for bipartisan solutions. And I think if we keep that tone up, keep that strategy at the forefront, we'll make progress irrespective of what's going on in Washington, D.C. Now, the truth of the matter is, and it's not just for the Cherokee Nation, it's across Indian country, there's been an impact in terms of some funding cuts. We faced $26 million in the Cherokee Nation, and we're looking at about $20 million more. That's a concern, but it's a concern that can be met by engaging leaders in Washington, D.C., again, on a bipartisan basis. And that's why the leadership of National Congress of American Indians is more important than ever, because we have to have frank conversations about not only those funding levels, but also some of the new standards, the new criteria, the new amount of scrutiny that attends a lot of these federal grants. We've got to re-educate federal leaders, and we have to do this often, but I think particularly now that tribes are sovereign nations. That we don't fall neatly into the categories that much of the country wants to sort of divide people up across. And we're very unique. The tribal citizens are citizens of political entities that existed before anyone ever heard of the United States. And I think we got to continue to remind the Congress and remind federal agency leaders of this. But I think as we do so, we're demonstrating our progress. We're pointing out where the Congress can do better, where the agencies can do better. We're pointing out that self-determination is the law of the land. And it's not only the law of the land, it is a prescription that works. We don't have to guess, as they do so often in Washington, D.C., whether this policy prescription or that policy prescription works. When it comes to self-determination, we can show it. And you can go across Indian country and have hundreds or thousands of examples. Now, my frame of reference is the Cherokee Nation, but I could bring federal leaders, and I brought them the message that at the Cherokee Nation, we are governing our own affairs when it comes to health care. I'd love to bring them to Claremore, Oklahoma, where we're about to take over the last Indian Health Service facility within the Cherokee Nation Reservation. And by taking control from Washington, D.C., and then putting it in the hands of a tribe, we're raising healthcare standards. Now, that's one example. But I could take them to roads we built under our self-governance agreement with the U.S. Department of Transportation. I could take them to the wellness centers that we're building, which demonstrates that when tribes are in control of their health care, they can shape programs and services that are responsive to the people that they represent. I could take them to efforts to save the Cherokee language and say that we're doing it and we're using our resources to do it, and that the United States ought to step up and help us do it more than they are. But I think that the message of the day has to be that empowering tribes works, that the United States Congress has an ability to strengthen that this administration has the ability to strengthen that it's really a nonpartisan issue. And that's why I appreciate this week so much, because NCAI is uniquely positioned to bring us together, to bring us to Washington, D.C. And we need that more than ever. We need unity more than ever at a time when there's a great deal of division in the country. And we need to demonstrate success and successful governments at a time when there's a great deal of dysfunction in the country when it comes to governmental action. And I think we're seeing that in Washington, D.C. So once again, tribes that were here before anyone ever heard of the United States are frankly running circles around the United States. But we need the leaders' attention. We need their help. And we need their ears, because we need to tell them what's going on. NCAI has put us in a position to do it once again. Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you, Chief Constable.